Okay, then no worries. Let's quickly. Okay, so this is my employee data set. Okay, so now I want to add a conditional split. So as soon as you click on conditional split, it will ask you the uh, condition. You can see the stream name and as well as the condition you can mention over here. For example, stream name, I wanted to give uh, employee 50. So what would be my condition? You can go back. Okay, you can add over the condition over here. So when you click on the open condition, you can see that there is a data flow builder opens automatically. So where you can use the similar like our pipeline functions, system provided functions and all. Similarly, you can use the functions, see absolute value. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we
Yes,
can
sir.
hear you.
Can.
I don't know, man. Today some problem is with the Zoom. It's blocked my again. I need to log in back. Uh, okay, so let's quickly do. You can see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now you can see all the functions, absolute value, and you want to add two expressions, right? If you want to add 2 plus 2, right? So if you want to do those kind of expressions, you can use the, add, and you can add timestamp days and add months. So all the system provided functions are available. Okay. And similarly, if you have any parameters declared, you can use those parameters will come automatically here, and you can use them in your part of expression. Okay, so now input schema. So that means the input data set, whatever we have, you can have an expression or using those input columns as well. For example, we wanted to split the data based on the salary. So I would select salary, greater than 15,000, right? Or I will give less than 20,000, right? So this is going to be one split. You see? Okay. So now since we are using salary, so and it accepts as a numeric value, right? So go back and change the salary to integer. Okay. Now you can see the condition is met already. Okay. Similarly, you can split again. So this is going to be, now you can employee 50. You can add another condition if, which is basically again the same. I want to use salary between and 50K. Okay, so okay, you cannot use this way. Okay, so let's do this way. Salary about 1 would be your another condition. So similarly, you can create more splits. You can split the data into more splits, and then finally the last one. If you see, if you the rows that do not meet any condition will use this output stream. So if you are giving, let's say there are no um, salary less than 20K or about 20K, there is something else, right? So in those rows that do not meet any condition, any criteria of this condition, those by default will be put it over here, right? So employee rest. If you do doing the employee, rest of the employees will come into, by default, you will come into picture, right? So the same thing, for example, if you see, if you are from SQL, case, right? We already dealt with case, right? Case when salary greater than 20K, then do something. When salary less than 20K, then do something else, right? Else, if nothing is meeting, do something else, right? So the similar way, this is similar kind of a case. This is the case statement, right? Similarly, you can split the data based on those case statements in here. You can add any number of split conditions, and you can move ahead.
Well, I have a question here.
Mm-hmm.
So suppose I have a table. In the table, the data is like I have four regions of data, east, west, north, south, just for four regions of data. So
Yeah.
the condition is when I'm exporting the data, because I need the data in CSV file, but
Mm.
when it exports the data, it should create four files, each file with one region. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that case, what should we use? Is it going to be split, or which
No,
will be
it's
the
not
way?
going to be split because see, split is required in expression. So
Mhm.
in your case, you wanted to divide the data based on the reason, right? So
Correct.
reason means you had to apply a filter.
Mm-hmm.
Split is not going to work. Split always accepts a expression. You can see the expression, right? Whether
Mm-hmm.
it's a expression in the form of either greater than, less than, or any other expression that you can give. But
Mm-hmm.
in your case, you know already a region, right? So that there you will use where region equal to
So this becomes a pure query which I'm filtering the data. So I'm just giving an example of a reason, but think about suppose as you just initially said that there is a department ID. Based
hmm,
on department ID, so it's a I'm just thinking about because my client has 1500 million rows in
hmm,
their table, and this is historical data, and they do export the data based on their requirement.
yeah,
So I'm just thinking one step ahead, that what happens if they say me, hey, can you export the data? Means I need 1500 million records in CSV, different CSV file with the department name. Means one
correct.
department it has. So what would be the way of handling this one?
So that's going to be your filter. When we see, when we come to filter, right? See, filter rows in the stream based on a condition.
Correct. So, sir, the problem is why I'm asking this question. So let me put it this way. So this filter, where you putting the where clause, right? Its
Hmm,
filter is becoming like a permanent command. Means tomorrow there might be one department closed, there might be one department added. If I need to run this dynamically, will it be? I think filter may not work. I'm just thinking. So
yeah,
like I'm just thinking one step ahead in this. So I'll go and first I'll figure it out all the unique department ID whenever I'm
yeah,
going to export. Before I'll filter it out all the unique department ID. Then I'll iterate it one by one department ID. Then get the department ID passed to my where clause. It will filter the data and then it will export the data. Is
absolutely,
it this
absolutely.
way?
Yeah, you have to be dynamic. You cannot run one by one, right? So you in the where
Correct.
condition, you will pass the dynamic values to that query, the department name, right? So that it automatically gets the department. Otherwise, you don't know which department is active, which doesn't, and if there could be tens and hundreds of departments, right? You cannot pass
Correct.
one by one, right? You're right. The
Hmm.
same approach you need to use.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So now the rest will go to employee rest, right? So similarly, you can add any number of streams that you wanted to, okay, and then split based on a condition, okay. So see, you need to understand one thing: the difference between a expression and the difference between a condition, right? So here the condition, it only accepts the ex- in the form of expressions, right? When you open click on the expression builder, so you can see all expressions here. So then here we cannot give, for example, let me say the same example what you gave, right? uh, Now here, if you see, for example, so let's say I wanted to use the input schema department, right? So department, let's say I gave department 10, right? So it doesn't work. It will give you an error. It doesn't work because department 10 is not an expression. You see, expression type cannot be able to correct the expression. It's not an expression, it's a condition. Okay. So similarly, that's the you need to know the difference between expression and a condition, and accordingly you use that. The split only accepts the expressions. So you, let's say, within the departments you want to see people who are earning more or earning less, or people who are assigned to a project, not assigned to a project. So those kind of situations where you have a expression based split you want to do, or the sales you want to divide based on the sales numbers, right? You want all the customer sales, customer data, where they are the top 10 customers, right? Their sales is top 10, or you want to divide them based on the top 50. So these are the expression based split that we can use the conditional split. Okay, so now if you see and optimize all we already discussed. Okay, so now let's see the data, how it looks like. So while it's fetching the data, so I think yesterday you're facing some issue, right, Sachit? With data factory, you're not able to create. Does that resolve?
Yeah, that is resolved. It's more and less the limit problem is killing me. That is the
Right,
biggest.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So see the reason we are all using the free account, right? So it has some limitations. Okay, and sometimes it works, sometimes it gives those kind of issues. So that doesn't mean we cannot complain to Microsoft also, because it's a free account. So we need to keep trying. So you can see it's created multiple streams. So employee 20, employee 50. So all the streams we can select it. See people here who are earning more than 20, we got into a different category, which is employee 50. And people who are earning less than 20K, we got into a different split. And the rest, of course, in the rest, we will not have anybody, because either of this category, one would fit into, right? So like this, okay, so yeah. So 20,000 guy who is earning 20,000, he's got into rest, because our condition was greater than 20, right? So that's how you can split the data into multiple streams. Okay, so now let's move on to exist. Is it clear? Okay, right? So I will remove this one. I need to reuse this one, so that, and you can see in a geographical way uh, how it's splitted, right? So when you add a split 20, split 50, split employee rest. Okay, so this is how the graphical user interface, the streams been created, and out of this split also you can have further, if you want to have a further condition, let's say within the employee 20 you want to do some joins and exit, and you want to do so on and so forth, you can keep doing that. So the plus symbol is available. Even with this output stream, you can add again the condition and so on and so forth. You can use all these options to again filter, again do some more transformations on based on this output stream. There is no limit to that. Okay. So now let's see with I think so let's see an employee 50. Okay. So now with employee 50, I wanted to use those where the department, as you can see, right? So we have different departments. Okay. So now I will add the department source as well. Right. So I have departments 10, 20, and 30 only. Okay, but in my employees, if you see employee 50, we have with some department with has 50 also. Okay, now I wanted to filter out this employee 50 data stream for those employees who had a valid department number, because 50 is not a valid. 50 doesn't have any department name at. Okay, it might come in future. Okay, but at this point it's not a valid department. So now within this, if I want to filter those employees who have a valid department number, I can use exist. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so left stream is this one and right stream is department. You see, so when as soon as I click on that, it automatically establishes a connection. See, department been created and it's established a link from with the employee 50 data set. Now you can see there are two things: exist, doesn't exist. Okay, what does it mean by exist, doesn't exist? So it checks for employee 50 exists in the right stream, which is the department. That means if it checks all whether all the employees from this left stream are exist have a correct and valid department or not. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so we need to mention the condition also on what basis, right? So we wanted to use department. Okay, so here is the catch again. So we need to change this to see. You should be very careful with the data type compatibility. If the data types are not compatible, you cannot use the expressions as well as the join conditions between the data sets. Okay, so let's make this to integer. See, this was so left also we need to change to in integer. Okay, so instead of left, just change. Okay, see, always make sure when you're using expression, they has to be integer type. When you're using one in the join, make sure both the data types are same. For example, if this was string and this was not string before that. So that's why you can see there was a error popping up, type mismatch. Okay, so now let's see the data. Okay, so as you can see, only we have a department 30 and 20 over here. The 50 earlier it was there in the 50, but that doesn't exist now. After we added exist a filter, after we added exist action, the 50 is not coming out here. Because why? Because 50 is not a valid department and it doesn't exist in the department table. It might come in the future, but at this point it doesn't exist. So that's where it's got filtered out. Okay, so now let's go back and let's see doesn't exist. So what would be the result in the doesn't exist? What are you expecting? Can anybody answer?
Sorry, can you sir repeat the question again?
So in exist, we have eliminated those departments which doesn't have a valid department ID in department table, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now in doesn't exist, what should be the result?
There are two tables, right? One is one check another table it exists or not, right?
Hmm,
So in not exist means whatever doesn't exist in other table that will show, correct?
correct. So in our case, 50 department 50 doesn't exist in department, right? So you will get
Correct,
those 50 records. So
correct.
as you can see, when you click here, split employee 50 doesn't exist in department, right? So
Mm-hmm.
doesn't exist. What are those doesn't exist? Well, there are two records, which is department 50,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that is how you will now if you see. You see only 50 records, right? Department 50, which doesn't have a valid department in a department table. So those records are coming out here. So that is the that's where you will check whether the using existing option, you can check whether the records have a reference in the valid reference in the other table, other data stream or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now union I don't want to get into because it's a very straightforward. You can just combine two data sets into one data sets. Okay, it is there is no no, there is no complexity, there is no ambiguity on that. I want you to try on how union works.
Yep.
Okay, but let's deep dive into lookup. Okay, so lookup is a again okay, so now let's go back and change to okay, let's keep doesn't exist and see lookup. Okay, add a lookup over here. Okay, so now okay, so our primary data set which we are using exists one, which we are getting the two records of employee 50, department ID 50, right? So now you need to mention the lookup stream. So lookup stream here, again, I can give a department. Okay, so you can see the lookup conditions, left exists column 1 and right departments column. Okay, so now I'm checking whether my look here we are remember guys, here we are getting the in the exist one we are getting output as the employees who has the department 50. Now I'm checking whether the department 50 do we have a lookup in departments table. Obviously we do not have, right? But just test it how it works. Okay, so what it does, the department number which is 50, it will check whether we have a reference in department column. Okay, so if it doesn't have, let's see what happens. See, there is a Spark error had come. So as you can see, when it failed, it says the Spark job failed. So why Spark job is where the Spark job in come into picture? Because as I mentioned earlier, when you click on data flow debug, it automatically creates a Spark cluster back in the background and uses this cluster to process the data and do all these transformations and filtering whatever we are giving in the form of drag and drop. It converts the everything into a code. For example, if you see the JSON code, so whatever we are giving, so all this you can see, all these are becoming a code, and this code is going to be executed in the Spark cluster in the background. Because Spark cluster didn't understand this UI, right? It didn't understand the drag and drop and these buttons and all. So there is a code underneath code for each of every button. There is underneath code representation. You can see data sets, reference name, type, name, and it's the entire thing. Drag and drop is converted into JSON code, and this JSON code will go and execute into your Spark cluster. For example, if you see uh, employee split, okay, it uses that split function. Okay, the split function, what it does, split salary less than 20, and you can see there is a disjoint where this is coming up. We haven't mentioned any disjoint in our code, right? But based on the condition and based on the UI, it automatically uses the disjoint function internally, which is a false, right? And you can see the broadcast. What is that broadcast? So when we discuss about PySpark, all these references you will understand. Okay, so this is the way the Spark cluster, this code is going to execute in the Spark cluster, and accordingly, so right, that is where you see when it's failed, Spark job failed. Okay, so now let's deep dive into the error. Column name department disallowed, stream employee doesn't need, feed exist one, and failure. Okay, if there is some issue, what we can do is look up, we can take it, let's do it outside, let's do it in a different data frame. Okay, since we are using employee 50 and on top again another one and on top again one, so there is some data mismatch is coming up. Okay, that is why it's very important to keep the to compatible with the data types between the data sets you wanted to use. Okay, it's very important step. Okay, now I hope you understand how these conditions works and how these things works in real time. Okay, so now let's do, I'm not going to publish this one. Let's discard. Okay, so let's create a new data frame for lookup. So this is again employee source. Now I will add another source. Okay, I will use lookup here. Now primary stream is one, lookup stream is department, obviously, right? So you can give matching criteria, whether any row or the first row or the last row, all these conditions you can mention. Okay, and then you can give. Okay, so we need to change the data type. Okay, so let's do the. Since we had some technical issue at the beginning, we'll be extending for a few more minutes. Okay, I hope it's not a problem. You see, so the employee 50, which uh, doesn't have in department table, it got it with the for example, it doesn't have a department ID, so its department ID become null. Okay, it had a lookup with a department table, but the department number and name it has a null. Okay, so that is how the lookup works. Okay, so now I will send this PDF as well. So now we discussed about the input and output ones, and we are good with this. Now let's see some of the schema modifiers. Okay, now let's I'm going to delete this. Okay, so now I have employee and okay, so now let's see. Okay, so you can see I have a employee data ID, name, salary, the bonus, everything. Now since I have a salary and bonus, I wanted to add a new column which is saying that total CTC, which basically combines salary and bonus. Okay, my source data stream doesn't have the total, but as part of the my destination stream, I wanted to have a total CTC, which to be automatically calculated based on the salary and bonus. Okay, in such cases, we can use a derived column. So derived column is nothing but it's a column that it will be derived on the fly. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so I want to calculate CTC. Now, as you can see, it will ask you the column names to be added. Okay, so now what column we want to add? CTC. Now here again you can see it accept expression. Okay, so now if you click on here again the builder opens. Okay, and you can see you can add the expressions and all the functions, everything are available over here. You can use them. Okay, so now so salary plus 10,000. Okay, so I want to calculate CTC as salary plus 10,000. Let's assume that. Okay, so bonus is not coming over here because of the schema drift. I think it's not coming over here, but don't worry. Okay, so I wanted to calculate my CTC, which is basically salary plus 10,000. Simple. Okay, so let's finish that. So now salary mismatch. So salary is, I need to convert back to uh, I need to convert back to a type mismatch, right? So we need to convert back to the integer. Okay, so let's do that. So where is my window? Okay. All right, now go back and you can see my CTC salary plus 10,000. Okay, so now let's go to data and see. You see automatically the CTC column been added, and which is basically a salary plus 10,000, 10,000, 10, 10, 20, 20 plus 10, 30, 35, 10, 45. So all you can see the CTC column added. Right. So this is where you will have a derived column. So derived column in the sense it's a column and derived out of these existing columns. Right. It could be anything like, let's say you wanted to add it salary plus 10% of salary, right? Or you can have expressions as well. For example, for department 10, it's a 10% of salary. For department 20, it's a 20% of salary. So all those expressions you can build in the design, building the designer, right? So all those things, so based on those uh, um, values, this CTC value going to be derived. That's why it's called a derived column. Okay, it's automatically derived out of the existing data. So next one is select. Okay, so see, I'm moving a little fast. Okay, if you, I hope it's a very simple things, and it's a very easy to understand. Okay, if you not able to catch it up, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask questions. Now let's say I wanted to select. Now what is that it mean by select? It's the same. Let's see, you're getting employee. This is the input stream, right? And the output. So now if you see employee ID, name, salary, and same thing. Let's say in my, I want out as an employee number, right? This could be employee name, the output column names. So these kind of stuff you can modify over here. Okay, so for example, you don't, your output stream doesn't want to include department, you can just remove that. Okay, so these kind of stuff you can, or you want to add another mapping over here. Let's say you want to add say you cannot add a column over here. It should be a derived column, should come from a other thing. Let's say you can do another thing also. Let's say department, right? So you want to have a department with employee department or something, you can add it. Or if you doesn't want, you can remove them. All right. So all this stuff you can do it over here. or you want to add another employee ID, for example, employee ID, and you want to name it as uh, what do you call source ID something, right? So all the stuff you can do that here. That means employee ID will come to twice. Basically, select allows you to select the required columns and with the required naming conventions. You can change those naming conventions. You see employee number, employee name, it become. Though in the source we just had a MP ID and all, but in the output we have a different. Okay, so you can use similar things. Now let's move on to aggregate. So what is aggregate? Can somebody tells me what is aggregate?
Adding.
Adding?
Yeah.
What do you mean by adding?
Means aggregating kind of either numbers aggregating or a string aggregation.
Yeah. So basically, let's go back. Okay, yeah, let me show you. So now you have this employee data, right? We have all these things, right? So now I wanted to know department level, department wise salary, right? So we have a 10, 20, 10 couple of people under 10, couple of people under 20, couple of people under 30. Okay, so now I wanted to know department of 10, how much I'm going to pay, 20, how much I'm going to pay, 30, how much I'm going to pay. All right. So you can do manually since it's just a small data set, or you can use the aggregate. All right. So let's do that aggregate. Okay. So you can see when you use aggregate, you need to select what is the group by and what are the aggregates you want to do.
Oh, okay. So basically, sir, so suppose what we are trying to do here means we are getting grouping the data department wise, right?
Exactly.
And each department. So if I sum salary, each department will come once as a unique, and against that department, how much total salary is being distributed, kind of.
Right. So similar, right? So let's say I gave you the same data set to you and write a SQL. Can you give me department wide salary? Okay, I
So this
want out.
could be also solution for what the Sachit asked, no, based on the regional wise. So we can do in this manner also, right?
No, so this is aggregating. Remember, Sachit wants data department wise, complete data he wants. He doesn't want aggregated,
Okay.
right? So here it's aggregating. Okay. So now if you write a query, what do you will write? Select department and sum of salary, right?
Salary, yeah.
From
From the
EMP
table name, group
group
by
by department.
department.
This is
Yeah,
what we will write it, right?
correct.
So now this will become a department would become a group by, and what are we aggregating is we are aggregating some salary, right? So the same thing we will select over here. So my group by is department number, right? And what are we aggregating? We are aggregating salary. And what is the expression we wanted to use? We want to use sum, right? So go to functions and see You see some, and what are we doing? And input schema. Okay, since again it's again type mismatch because it's not a valid. Okay, so let
Do we
me.
need to put it equals to sign
No, not
or
required.
no?
Equal. Equal to
Okay.
why equal? There is nowhere equal is required. Yeah.
Okay. Just thought.
Hmm. Okay, salary is integer.
I think we need to give column name is any random number, right? So, any random name, right, sir? It must not be the column because you are doing aggregation. So this aggregation will come in a. Oh, it does not give me add or select a column.
So we are aggregating salary, and the expression we are using sum, right?
Yeah. So okay. I believe maybe okay. Can we put it in some bracket salary and salary one as a column name because it will generate a new column, right? So some will generate a new column.
So you're saying that way. Okay, so let's
Yeah.
see.
So can we put it a new name? Yeah. Some one. Yeah. One. And then here put it a yeah, in bracket salary. Salary. No, mismatch. Type is mismatch. Means some you need to get the some yeah input salary yeah
It's already integer. I don't know why it's
correct.
giving error.
Okay, just finish the salary is some and then below now
Okay,
it's
so
okay,
now it's
right?
okay. Yeah, because it's coming in a capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first letter is capital, right?
Is it a case sensitive because of that?
Yeah. It's a case sensitive.
Oh, you mean to say this ADF is case sensitive?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, which I was not aware.
You see, we got the data based on the 10, 20, 30, 50. These are the sum values.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that's how uh, you know uh, aggregate would work.
Yeah. I think I'm clear. It's
Yeah. You see,
if
guys, the reason would be I wanted to give you the conceptually how these options and actions works, right? And then you need to do some kind of a hands-on so that you will be remembered, and then you can apply the same thing over the in real-time scenario which you are working on. Okay. So, but if you don't know, it's going to be a problem, right? So that's where it's very important. Though it takes some time, but it's very important to understand conceptualities. Okay. So now the remaining surrogate pivot and pivot window, and as well as this one we will cover tomorrow. Okay,
Sure.
so now go back and do some hands-on. Okay, again and again, do hands-on, so that will give you more confidence in understanding the concepts, as well as how you will know the issues when you get into the field, right? When you try to do that, you will know. For example, see the simple thing, which is I'm using capital instead of capital S, small s I'm using, I'm getting type mismatch, right? So these simple things, and in your case you could be something else you would be facing. Okay, so do that, and then we will resume tomorrow, and we will complete the rest of the things. So with that, this week we are going to complete the mapping data flows. So the remaining portions next week we will cover some kind of how to connect. Now we you know the pipeline, how the pipeline needs to be created with the different activities, and with the different data mappings, right? Get the file from a different sources to your ADLS cloud, and after coming to the files, how to process those files using different activities, right? And using data mapping flow, you also know within each file how you can transform the data, right? And that can fit into your target data model. So you know that now you are the pipeline, how to create a pipeline with the activities and the data mapping flow. Now, to next week, we are going to discuss some of the uh, advanced concepts of pipelines. For example, GitHub. How do you use the GitHub in the pipeline? How do you configure a GitHub? And also, we are going to discuss in some of the options in the pipelines available. For example, properties. We haven't touched upon properties yet, right? So all those stuff we are going to discuss with a real time uh, um, scenario where you need to create a end-to-end pipeline using all the activities and mapping data flows. All right. So that's all for today, and we will resume tomorrow. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.